I will start now, okay? Okay. So, hi again. I'm Katarina from Zagreb. I'm a PhD student at the Faculty of Humanity and Social Sciences in Zagreb. And today I will be focusing on examining the monetization level of the Pannonian Limes area in the late antiquity. So before we go to case studies, I would like to put the topic into context by highlighting a few characteristics of the late Roman monetary economy. By the late antiquity, Roman monetary system was highly regionalized, which means that it didn't consist of various smaller systems, but that it depended on local specifics of the area. When we speak of monetary system, we usually think of coins. However, Roman monetary system was never dependent only on coin use. Barter and other types of media of exchange were present in the empire and used in day-to-day transactions as well. On the other hand, coinage underwent several reforms from the end of the 3rd century and in the beginning of the 4th. Coins had both fiscal and commercial value. They were used in the state to collect taxes and for paying wages, among which majority of state expenses was the army. By the end of 4th century, gold coins became more frequently used as well. They were desired among Roman people in this era of economic turbulence because of their intrinsic value. Gold as a material, as such, was very highly valuable. So with that, let's turn to the area of this research. When we are talking about Pannonian Limes, I will focus on the part located today in Croatia, but of course, with keeping in mind that the wider context and Pannonian Limes as a whole should be considered when interpreting the data that I will present here today. Croatian part of the Pannonian Limes is 188 kilometers long and it spreads along Danube from Ad Militare to Kupium. This part of the Limes is characterized as a military frontier zone, which means that we should expect different type and amount of commercial trade than in civil area. There are several reasons for that, which are mainly connected with security and military function. For the sake of security, forts ought to be more or less self-sufficient. Likewise, since rural economy prevails in the area, self-sufficiency is also the main characteristic of the settlements in the surrounding area. This indicates a smaller coin use, because, just as it is today, people in rural areas have their produce, which they frequently exchange for other commodities. What does this mean? They don't primarily count on cash in trade, since there are other media of exchange that they find more desirable and more convenient. Sorry, my throat is a bit dry. Okay. And now to the case studies. Case studies in my research are two forts, Teutoburgium and Dar. They were located, they were actually key locations that controlled river and road pathways to the hinterland and towards urban centers such as Murcia and Sibala, which you can see here on the map. And administratively, these forts were under Pannonia Secunda, that was controlled from the province's capital that was located in Sirmium. My exploration of the monetization actually continues on the research that focused on collecting available numismatic data to set the time frame for the end of coin supply in the area. Therefore, coins from Valentinian dynasty until the last found Roman coin have been examined. Initially, this research and interpretation of the set data was then connected with examining the monetization level of the area. After determination, coins have been sorted according to the emission. This enabled scaling each emission to see which were bigger and which were smaller. Given data was then put into the index formula to establish the annual coin circulation intensity. This formula is calculated by dividing the number of coins from the certain time period to the number of years in the period and the number of coins from all compared samples, which then, when put into the table, looks something like this. When this data is then turned into the chart, we get an outline of the intensity with which coins circulated according to each emission, and it was then able to determine that the last coin supply to these forts happened sometime around late 80s and early 90s of the 4th century. The last found coin is the Salus Republica type, minted for the Emperor Arcadius in Cyzicus, and this is the type of coin which you can see on your top right of the slide. So, since coins initially could have only come to forts in the form of soldier salaries, changes in coin circulation at the forts could have related to the intensity of military activities in the area. This indicated that the army is the generator of the monetization, and it might have been concluded that with their departure at the end of the 4th century, limes was demonetized. However, as we know, correlation does not simply imply causation. Just because intensity of coin circulation and the army can be connected, it does not mean that the army solely carried the monetary system of the area. Thinking that the area demonetized after the army left an easy trap to fall into, and it is facile. As said before, army was mainly self-sufficient, but it also relied on local satellite markets and urban centers in the vicinity. Likewise, other forms of money, such as commodities, payment in kind, credits or loans, were co-present in the monetary system, especially in rural areas and during money shortages. Frontier markets included trade with barbarians as well, which is probably expressed more through barter. Therefore, economic, political, and administrative context in the area should be considered when establishing monetization level. So, what can be concluded from all of this? Numismatic data must first be put into context. Finds from different types of sites should be analyzed accordingly, and other archaeological evidence should be included in examining the monetization level. It must be kept in mind that in late antiquity, exchange media was largely dictated by local customs, so coins are not sole evidence and indicator of the monetary system. There are other types of money that impacted monetization level that are mainly archaeologically invisible, like commodities, credits, and loans. Thus, changes in coin circulation do not necessarily imply that direct changes in the monetary system. And lastly, what can be said concretely on the zone in question? It can be concluded that Croatian part of the Pannonian limes was a rural military zone where army was the driver of the monetization, but it depended on urban centers in the vicinity. It can be said that the army, with its dependent settlements, impacted the share of coin use in the area, and therefore, after it left, monetization level has changed. But the monetary system of some sort surely must have prevailed. So I was a bit fast and short, but I hope it was short and sweet. So thank you very much.